Hey everyone. First of all, I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you for making it to a powerful 2-hour session with a $50 billion man, Dan Peña. Let's give him a round of applause. Now, I'd also like to thank the wonderful people here at Launch 22 for hosting us on this wonderful sunny Liverpool day. Now, before we get started, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about this event and how it came about. My name is Urvesh Vasani, and I'm a 21-year-old entrepreneur.
And we're not related. Go ahead.
I started my first business at the age of 13, which was a record label, which then turned into a 16-person digital marketing agency. I'm currently working on my second venture, which is called Heartface, which is basically a mobile platform for shoppable video, where you can watch videos of products and buy products from the videos itself. Now, moving on. Over the past years, I've learned a lot about business. I've learned also a lot about dealing with people, and most importantly, making a better version of myself every single day. That's what we all aim to do, become high-powered executives. When I learned first about Dan last year, I was instantly drawn to his view of the world. You know, away from all of the jargon, the theory, the kumbaya of the business world, Dan tells it like it is. Dan looks at, in my opinion, Dan looks at business as a very rugged and tough sport. Something where you can only achieve success by constant sweat, tears, and determination. Now, for any one of you who does not know who Dan is, you should be ashamed of yourself. But at the same time, Dan is an American philanthropist, businessman, and business coach. He's more commonly known as the founder of the Quantum Leap Advantage, the QLA method that has generated over $50 billion, US dollars, worth of equity and value for all of his mentees. This talk is going to be about how Dan went from humble beginnings to now living in the Guthrie Castle in Scotland. How the psychology of a high performer is. Now, before Dan tells me to piss off and waste any more of his time, I'm going to invite him onto the stage to continue with the talk. Thank you very much.
This is an experiment that started at Oxford University last year, about a year ago, when they asked me to speak there. And I thought, when my staff said it's Oxford on the phone, I thought it was a fucking joke. You know, is my Rhodes Scholar got caught on the post? Maybe it's 50 years late. And by the way, the Oxford kids didn't laugh at that either. So you have something in common. How many of you in this seminar or in this group have been to my castle seminar? Please raise your hand. And so it got me thinking, well, maybe I can talk at schools, since my model switched from 1/3 to 2/3 pro bono over Christmas. I decided to devote 2/3 of my time, instead of 1/3 of my time, free, for dipshits like you, just like you. Maybe not quite as low life as here in Liverpool, but almost as low life as here in Liverpool. Now, I'm not here to insult anybody, but I'm going to insult a lot of people. And if I hear your fucking phone ring, I will personally come and take it away from you and throw it out. And if you want to test me, try me. So turn your fucking phones off, meatheads. I mean it. I'm not some bullshit person up here who hasn't ripped heads off and shit down necks before. And I'm still plenty capable of it. Now, for those of you that thought I was a midget for some reason, and when you saw me, well, he really is 6'1" to 25. Because of the pictures that Brian QLA Rose takes, Brian's about this tall. Yet, on all the photos of the two of us, it looks like we're pretty much the same height. Well, he's either standing on a box, or he's changed the actual physics of the photos. But I wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't have understood what social media really has to offer if it wasn't for me hounding Brian to go on his show back in April of 2014. Now, for those of you that have watched Brian, you've seen his life change. He dresses different, he looks different, he is different. And today's talk isn't going to be exactly as described, because the theme is wealth, risk, and reward not. The reason you're here, and the reason you're poor, for the most part, is because the model that your dipshit parents taught you doesn't fucking work anymore. It hasn't worked for 25 to 50 years, depending on what part of the world you're from. It's boost, as my Yorkshire wife would say. And I say it's fucking boost. Back in the old days, you try to get good grades, good O levels, good A levels, whatever. You try to get to a decent school. Then you try to graduate. You try to go to work for somebody. And then at the end of 40, 50 years, maybe they gave you this, a gold watch. Well, that model's been gone a long, long time. It's been gone a long, long time. And I'm going to explain to you in the way only I can say it, why people ignore the fact that it's been gone a long, long time. When I was in Oxford last year, a lovely, lovely venue, you can't be anything but elitist having gone to school there for 3 years. You can't walk around that goddamn campus, and the campus is, and not feel elitist. You can't. It's impossible. And there's maybe 10, 20 schools in the world like that. Maybe 10, 20. So, if you went to Oxford, and then you go to the city, and then you get a job at one of the big banks, investment banks, and then you make a ton of money, maybe you go start a hedge fund, a venture capital, but that's only the model for 1/10 of 1%. Everybody else has to work for it. And even if you work for it, doesn't mean you're going to get it. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. Now, I was, as I walked by outside, I noticed this. And so the young manager said, "Oh, you're stealing our ping pong pattern." But it reminded me of a story, which I said yesterday when I was at University of Chester. I was the last student in the state of California that got legally beaten by when they were dishing out corporal punishment. May of 1963. Most of you weren't even born. It was anybody born before May of 63 here in this room? Now, what are you crazy? May of moron? Okay. I was the last person to get a beating with like a big racquetball paddle with holes in it. And at my 50th high school reunion, my lovely wife, who's sitting out there working, will attest to, they asked me, they wanted to, we want you to show us the demonstration of the last beating anybody got in the state of California. And I said, well, no, at that time I was 67, 68, I'm not, nobody in this one's going to beat me with a fucking paddle again. He said, no, we want you to beat somebody. Oh, I'm up for that. So they had a little demonstration, and the guy they picked was a retired policeman, a guy I've known 30, 40 years, actually 50, 60 years. And so we enacted me hitting him to reenact me getting the last beating. Now, part of the reason that you're all fucked up and you're snowflakes is because nobody beats anybody. You can't even yell at anybody. You can't even say, you a lard ass. Now you're going to say that he's weight disadvantaged. You dwarf midget. No, now you've got to see their height disadvantage. And I can go on and on and on and on. Now, in my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me, kids. And I call you kids because I'm either old enough to be your grandfather or your father, everybody in this room. Just like the Greek dynasty went down the toilet, the Roman dynasty went down the toilet, and the various other dynasties went down the toilet, this human race is going down the toilet. Now, it may not be for 500 years, 700 years, maybe in Liverpool 40 years, you never know, but it's going down the toilet. And we're making all the same fucking mistakes as all those other dynasties did thousands of years ago. Did we learn nothing from history? Apparently not. Apparently not. When I was growing up in school, I used to be the favorite to put in the corner with a dunce can. Or locked in a closet. Can you imagine doing that to a kid today? That's what you needed going to school. Fucking vaginas. And when I call you a cunt, it's because I'm calling you a coward. Not because of the bodily part of the lovely feminine lady body. It's because you're a coward. You were raised to be a coward, and you act like a coward. Your parents were cowards. Is that somebody's phone? Oh, okay. Now I see I see you can't put a black guy in the back. You can't say that anymore. I know this black guy. He's my nigga. Here to the semi, he came all the way from California to be here.
Wow.
When some of you that'll say that they forgot about it, couldn't come 5 blocks. Couldn't come 5 blocks. Now, I'll be 72 in a few weeks. I don't think I look 72. I sure as hell don't feel 72. And the last time I had a physical, I have a physical 2 or 3 times a year, they said I was fit for 50. Fit for 50. All my bloods and all that stuff. Okay. I think I feel 40. But I'm wearing these shoes today because I just had my knees replaced, both of them. And I was trying to wear fancy shoes yesterday, walking around like I'm doing here. And this morning when I woke up, my knees, my ankles, my back, everything ached. So I got my therapeutic shoes back on that are stiff like bricks and that have the big, thick orthotics. But I can stand and scream and jump around, from now until the sun goes down. But I try and succeed at being all I can be every single day of my life. Now, which is what QLA is all about. The young man that introduced me, and by the way, one of the reasons I'm here is because University of Liverpool turned me down.
Yep, they did.
They shat on me. Can you believe that? Fucking And I wipe my ass with better paper than they get for degrees. They shat on me. But they're not the only ones. Columbia University in New York City shat on me. One of the finest schools in the world. Georgetown University shat on me. Amongst others. But for some reason, unbeknownst to me, nor Allah, Oxford accepted me. Now that is the 9th wonder of the world. We're not sure how that happened. We know it happened. It was legit because I was there. I was there. And so I'm using that leverage of speaking at Oxford to spread the message for free. And I want to make a couple of comments. I give all my product away free. Why do I give it away free? Because one, what's a few $100,000? I'm not being braggadocious now, but what's a few £100,000 to me in a year? Nothing. But when I give you the product for free, it takes the last fucking excuse, you miserable cunt, for saying that you don't know how to do it, you can't do it because you haven't seen all my product. I give it to you free. Where's your little Honduran knife-wielding girlfriend? She didn't make it, huh? I knew that bitch was in trouble the first time I saw her. and now there was a couple of cute blondies in the audience at Oxford. And, hey, blondie. And they got the young Oxford kid, my mentee, says, you can't say that, Mr. Peña. And the little blondie, oh, yes, Mr. P, well, how can I help you? So, I give all my product away free. I'm not here to sell you anything. Now, on Valentine's Day, a couple of the big gurus for personal development, which I'm not, said half off all my product. You know who I'm talking about. Sometimes they take 90% off all their product. Well, if they're taking 90 or 50% off all their product on Valentine's Day or Christmas, what the fuck's it really worth? Nothing. Now, how did the personal development business get started? Now, you all know the story about Napoleon Hill spending the weekend with Andrew Carnegie at his house in Nob Hill. And why would a young guy spend a weekend with an old dirty old man from Scotland who was 4'8"? That's a whole other story. Nobody ever talks about that. And as he's probably kissing him on the cheek goodbye, he says, I'm going to give you an opportunity of a lifetime to write the book of success for all time. And I'm going to introduce you to 500 of my richest friends. You all know the story, right? He said, you're going to write the book vis-a-vis success, not personal development. Success. Why success? Because Andrew Carnegie knew what gets measured gets accomplished. Now, it stayed success for 40, 50 years. Then in the late 1950s, a shrewd insurance peddler, a shrewd insurance salesman named W. Clement Stone came up with the idea of positive mental attitude. And he was using it as a sales technique to motivate his insurance salesman. And I believe the name of his company was Combined Insurance. But he said, we can't call it hiring Napoleon Hill, who was now bankrupt, to write another book. So he said, we can't call it success because success is too quantifiable. And people are going to be able to measure the results. So what are we going to call it? Personal fucking development. Because you can't, as they say in Scotland, you can't measure personal development. It's a fucking amorphous. It's a cloud. Hence, ergo, personal development industry was born as a scam, a sales insurance scam by W. Clement Stone in the late 50s, 1950s. And since then, all of you meatheads have bought hundreds of books, listened to hundreds of podcasts, all the shite, because you don't want to be held accountable. You don't really want to know how good or how bad you are. And personal development, just about everybody says you're going to be fine. And then in the late 60s, the fucking book was written called I'm Okay, You're Okay, by Dr. Stein, a psychiatrist. And it basically says, whatever the fuck you want to do is okay, and whatever I want to do is okay, cha-cha-cha. And you can call me and I can go. That's horseshit. That's not the way life is. And it was perpetuated with that book, I'm Okay, You're Okay. And you know all the PD big guys, none of them hold you accountable. And you go to their seminars, and for 2 or 3 weeks you feel good about yourself. And then the real you comes out, that you're just a scumbag little midget, or whatever's wrong with you. You look in the mirror, you don't like what you see in the mirror. And now, you can't even say, you blard ass, I can't say that. Oh, you're weight disadvantage in the cheeks of your ass, your arse. Now what the fuck? What's happened to us? We gotten weak. And then, we got the snowflakes now. A stiff drink and a good fuck would kill most men in this fucking room. Now I know some of you scousers really think you're fucking tough. You don't know what the fuck tough is, assholes. I know what fucking tough is, and I'm still fucking tough at almost 72. And I can still rip your fucking head off and shit down your neck. You don't know what tough is. I came from tough. When I was taking that picture in 1993, there was 2 drive-by shootings 3 blocks over. My camera crew jumped in their fucking cars and jumped under the car because they were feared. They were afraid. I got expelled whilst in grammar school, as they say, 3 times for doing bodily harm on kids. The last time, when they expelled me from the entire school district, is because I dropped an aquarium from, you'd call it the first floor, the second floor window onto my teacher, trying to kill him. By the grace of Allah, he moved 4 or 5 inches to the left, and it hit him in the shoulder, fractured, caved in his collarbone, fucked up his arm, but he lived. And then they came to my parents and said, well, your boy's got to go now. Not just to another school. He's got to leave the school district. And that's how I got out of the body. Because I tried to kill my teacher. Was I trying to kill him? No. I didn't think of it that way. But he had done something to piss me off, that was for sure. Because you don't just drop the fucking aquarium and weigh about 40, 50 pounds on that poor bastard. You know, he wasn't, you know. And so, fast forward to, 30, 40 years, I'm now the Laird of Guthrie Castle, and I came up with the idea of QLA, Quantum Leap Advantage, where I've created over $50 billion with dipshits just like you. I've done it with 80 IQ to 180 IQ. And the guy with 80 IQ made more money than the guy with 180 IQ, I might add. I've done it with kids, no education, PhDs from Oxford. I've never had anybody that I know of that was a PhD from Liverpool. I'm sure if there had been, somebody would have told me, and in my preparation for this talk. In fact, I'm not sure I've had more than a couple dozen people from Liverpool, although we just had one at the seminar. He's sitting very quietly in the back of the room right now. Is this, other than the seminar, is this the only time you've worn a suit here in Liverpool?
Once or twice before.
Once or twice before. Okay. And so the rest is history. Now, kids, you read on my site and in Google, I've been thrown out of university 3 times, flunked out. I've been in jail 5 times. But the one thing I'm going to give you today news that you don't know about me from Google is I wipe my arse with my right hand. Now you know everything about me there is to know. I wipe my butt with my right hand. So now you've got all the data about Dan Peña. All the data. Actually, because I'm actually, I'll make a lot of fun about my solicitor mentee in the front row, who praise Allah is still alive, and but he's not from Liverpool. I was surprised you came over this way and you weren't feared for your life over here. Are you going to say something?
Just movements.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, remember, wealth, risk, reward, not. How many have children in the room? Raise your hand, please. Quickly. Okay, when their kids are 1, 2, 3 years old, they're pretty happy unless they got a diaper. They need a diaper and nappy, right? They're pretty happy. They look like this. Happy, slappy. And when they're 7, they're pretty still happy. Then something happens. Self-esteem is built the first 7 years of life. I'm going to say it again slow. Self-esteem is built the first 7 years of life. For those of you that have children older than 7, they're fucked. Forget about it. You can go to all the fucking counseling you want. You can go to all the psychiatrists, shrinks you want. They're fucked. Who fucked up you? Because the first 7 years of life, who are you around? Mom, maybe dad, maybe a grandparent, maybe an older brother or sister, right? That's it. They're fucked because your parents fucked you and your grandparents fucked your parents. Up. I've had grandfathers, parents, and grandchildren in the seminar. Same thing. And when you put them on the spot and you drill down and the mothers start crying, their answer is, not just mothers, and the dads start crying, they say, I did the best I knew how. I didn't know any better. What kind of fucking answer is that? And when you ask your parents, why did you let dad molest me? If you're a girl. You knew better about that, didn't you? Anybody knows better than that, right? But it still happens, doesn't it? And I can go on and on and on. So, okay, wealth, risk, reward, not. So the system has been deteriorating for a long time. And in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you how, the only way in my judgment, it can be fixed. If it can be fixed. There's no guarantees. Because one of the things I learned 24 years ago when I started coaching was never underestimate how wrong you can be. And i.e., the Prime Minister calling that election, she thought she had in the bag. You know, I mean, I can name a whole bunch of instances where you never underestimate how wrong you can be. And in your own lives. In your own lives, you all got an uncle, an aunt, a grandparent, somebody that lost all the money, the family's money, and they're still laughing about him 50 years later. That resonates in your little pea brains. Hence, it keeps you from going outside your comfort zone. You had a cousin that went to New York City and got all his money taken away from him. I can go on and on and on. And all that stuff resonates, kids. It all resonates. And it leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth, and it leaves you with a bad example. Better no example than a bad example. I came to the UK in 1981 because I had to get away from my familia. I'm a Hispanic, a blue-eyed Hispanic, a güero as they call it, light-skinned Hispanic, but I'm still Hispanic. And I was raised with all those detrimental things, a lot of good things about being Hispanic. But there's a lot of shit too. And I can go down if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, no matter what the fuck you are, there's bad stuff associated. And unfortunately, we don't take the good stuff. We take the bad stuff. Why do we take the bad stuff? Because it's easier for us to relate on a personal level. Because we have no self-esteem, we have no self-worth, we have little or no self-confidence. So it's easier for us to gravitate towards the negative shit. Now, in American football, I can't do this in a... If you're playing sandlot football, and they throw the ball over and I let them kick it like here, and you're in a huddle and it's raining and You've got a kid. Throw it to me in the left flat. I can beat that asshole. I can beat him. Throw it to me. Throw it to me. Then you got this other guy, the intellectual. Well, it's raining and it's muddy and I could slip and fall. Who the fuck are you going to throw it to? The guy that mans up. No offense intended to the ladies in the audience. But we're more readily gravitate towards the person that knows intellectually that he's not going to be able to hang on to the ball. I heard it with people checking in here. When I go to a restaurant, I say, last night I went to a restaurant, I said, I'll have this, that, and this, the other. My sponsor, who sponsored me there, said, could I have this? Could I have that? And everybody else at the motherfucking table said, could I? I stepped up like I had a pair and said, I'll have that. And if you don't have it on the fucking menu, go find it. Well, I got a million stories about this kid. But I cannot confirm nor deny the stories about him. He's too English for his own good. He's a proper gentleman. Which I've told you before. You can move your head a little more than that, indicating yes. Thank you. I heard somebody say this was nice, or he's nice, or she's nice. Other than my mentees, do you know what the derivative of the word nice is? 13th, 14th century Anglo-Saxon. Idiot, retarded, crazy. I'm going to say it again. Idiot, retarded, crazy. Oh, you're a nice fella. I've been called a lot of goddamn things, but fucking nice isn't one of them. They used to put women that were nice, they used to put helmets on to keep to lock their mouth shut. Now, I'm still for that. I'm not against that. We can go back to 13, 14, 15. But look at what's happened in the last 500, 600 years. The word nice. And one of the things that I tell, remember, wealth, risk, reward, not. One of the things I tell all the kids is words matter. When you go out and you order something again, I'll have this. Not, could I have? What are you saying when you say, could I have? What you're really saying is the motherfucker may not give it to you. That's what you're really saying. And who trained you to do that, Blondie? Your mama. You can't say Blondie anymore. All right, I read here myself. That's a whole other story. Where's my wife? She's out there. She looks like one, out there working hard. Okay, so our ability, what we consider wealth, is different now. Now, from the barrio where I came from, when I was like this, and by the way, I wanted to be a priest. I used to teach Bible study, catechism in the Catholic Church. Me. And the nuns used to call me an angel. Even though I dropped an aquarium on the goddamn teacher, trying to kill him. And when the nuns used to beat me, my dad would come home from wherever he was, and if the nuns beat me, I'm going to beat you. Because they didn't beat you enough or they didn't catch you for enough shit. And that's how I was raised. Now, my mother did a lot of things right. And one of them was, by serendipity, she read in Reader's Digest in 1946 a syllabus on this book written by Dr. Spock. And he was writing a book about all the people that were coming back from the big war, World War II, how to raise kids. Up until his death in 1998, it was the second most purchased book in the world behind the Bible. And it tells you every single thing, and everybody in this room has done it all wrong. But she read this book, and she raised me by this book. Now, she said, and she never used the word no. And I just figured that out if you got little kids. Because no matter how you use the word no, it has a negative impact on the little shits. And there is no such thing as constructive criticism. Whoever fucking told you that was retarded. The only thing your little sensitivities read is criticism, not constructive anything about it. And so that's how I was raised. Whereas my dad, she wouldn't say no to anything. My dad wouldn't say yes to anything, no matter what I came up with. My dad only had one goal for me in life. to get me to the age of reason. That's it. One goal. He didn't know that it was be 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, whatever. If my father was sitting here, he died in his early 90s, he smoked 5 to 6 packs of cigarettes a day for 60 years. He drank 1 to 2 bottles of whiskey a day for 60 years. He lived to 91. His brother, who never had a drink, he never smoked a cigarette, only lived to 94. My dad would say, fuck those extra 3 years. I read that at the time. But he would say, if he was standing here, he'd say, and he's about as tall as Brian Rose. He said, my dad had shrunk. Can you imagine when Brian's 78 years old, how little he's going to be? He's going to be like a minionette little on strings. Anyway, my dad would say, I only had one goal for him, to keep him alive, but I'm very proud of his success, but my son is successful not because of me, but in spite of me. Whereas your parents want to live vicariously because your parents had nothing lives. They were zeros. Then they had you. My dad would say, I have nothing to do with my son's success. He's successful not because of me, but in spite of me. When in 1983 and again in 91, I got 2 big awards in America. Whether I was deserving of them or not, I got them. And my dad said to CBS, Connie Chung, who used to be an anchor at CBS, you must be very proud. And he said the same exact thing on TV. They interviewed the dean of the School of Business I ultimately did graduate from after 3 times flunking out. And Dr. Shirley Teeter said, the only difference with Mr. Peña, Danny, as they used to call me, between now and 25, 30 years ago when I knew him as a student, is that his accomplishments, now get this is a PH motherfucking D, dean of a School of Business. His accomplishments have caught up with his big fucking mouth. On fucking CBS national motherfucking television. His accomplishments caught up with his big fucking mouth. Not once, but twice this happened to me. Again, in 1991, it happened. They said exactly the same thing. I told the camera crews, of course, when you tell a camera crew to stay away from those people, what do? Like a magnet. And my dad did it again. We should have let him, locked him up in the boot of the fucking rolls, so he couldn't get to anybody. So, but my idea, I didn't know what $1 million was until I went overseas as a young Army officer. And one of the things that we asked the kids at the seminar, we asked you, what is the most high performance thing you've ever done in your life? And you ought to fucking read those things. Unbelievable. They should have swallowed a revolver, is what they should have done. Do you realize most of the people in this room are accidents? I don't mean just like 3, 4, 5, 6 years separated between your siblings. You're fucking accidents. Ask your parents next time. Ask them. Better you dribble down the inside of your mama's leg. What have you done with your life? What? Nothing. For those of you that have parents, do you want your kids to wind up just like you? Oh, good God, you don't say yes. Because that's what's going to happen. Is that what you want for them? Your definition of wealth will be their definition of wealth. Your definition of risk-reward is going to be their definition of risk-reward. And you're so fucking afraid, a turtle can only move forward when it sticks its fucking neck out. And its limbs out. And then what happens? They're the most vulnerable, aren't they? So how do you spend your whole life? You spend with your neck in and your legs, your limbs in, and don't take any risk. You never step outside your comfort zone. Now, how can you build self-esteem? How can you build self-worth? How can you build self-confidence? Never taking any risk. Some of you ladies will relate to this more. I took a risk on this bum and you wound up being a bum. Most of you are with your partners for all the fucking wrong reasons. Same old piece of ass, if you're getting any. Those of you that got married for the wrong fucking reason. Just like your mama and daddy got together for the wrong reason. You think any different? You're fucking sick. Sicker than you look. Now, kids understand this. Kids can understand what's going on from the second trimester when they're in their mama's fat belly. My youngest son said, I've been hearing this 5 keto crap since I was in mama's tummy. And he can recall shit that he can't possibly know about. My lovely wife who's out there, who we finally settled the argument who was poor. She was poorer than I was, which is saying something. Lived in a fucking caravan in some shit pot part of Yorkshire. Her brother, her father, and her mother. Her mother will tell you, if she was here, Joe, she can't possibly remember that caravan. She can't possibly, because she was only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years old. Sally can tell you the kind of curtains they had on that caravan. And you don't think your kids hear when you're whispering behind about this, that, and the other thing, and you don't want the kids to hear you fighting? Bullshit. So that's why, spread your legs, sweetheart, have another one. We couldn't get it right the first 4 times, maybe the next 3 we can. And that's how life is perpetuated. And whether I'm in Beijing, Liverpool, Oxford, or Scotland, someplace in Scotland, it's always the same. Okay, so now, if we have a chance, some chance, and we don't really understand what wealth is, and many of you have been raised, wealth is bad, money's dirty, etc., etc. And the only reason your parents told you that is because they don't have a fucking dime between them. I never met anybody that had any fucking money, and I've been rich and I've been poor. I never met anybody that had any fucking money that said it was dirty, ugly, bad. Not in my almost 72 years. Not a one. Now, why are myself, Gates, Buffett, Steve till he died, why are we all giving our money away? Just in case there is a heaven. We want to make sure we buy our way into it. I have 240 nuns that pray for me every fucking day. Every motherfucking day. 240. So we were early on. I put my money on Saint Teresa when she was just a goddamn Mother Teresa. And we support some of her first orphanages in the Philippines and in Sri Lanka and someplace else I don't remember now. And where the silverback gorillas from?
Uganda.
Rwanda, not Rwanda. Anyway, I put my money on the little bitch way back when. And so we got 240 of these nuns. And when I talk, just like I talk to you, to them, I have priestess mentees. And the nuns are just always going like this. You know? But they say, you're on a rocket ship. I'm going to pass Elon Musk on his way to fucking Mars like he's standing still. Why would I want to go to Mars? I'm going to, if there is one up there, I want to go to the land of the big golden arches. And that's why we give our money away. Just in case it's true. What other reason? Do you think we really give a fuck about you? What are you smoking? If it's not addictive, give me some shit. Give me some of that shit. I like to get high as long as it's not addictive. I used to say when I was in my 30s and 40s, I want to take heroin when I'm 80. I readjusted that goal because 72 is pretty close to 80 as far as I'm concerned. So now I say 90. Now I say 90. Okay, so if you've been raised with a wrong, bad attitude about wealth, and you really don't understand risk-reward because you've got no role models, and success leaves clues, what the fuck do you do? You're in deep blind. You are. And like I said at the beginning, there may not be any, I'm not going to bullshit you, be disingenuous. There may not be any way out. But it's the way we're going is for sure not the way. And up until about 5 years ago, I've taught at some of the big schools. Normally I only get one semester, one quarter, and then they don't ask me back. Maybe you can understand why. But the first question I said, okay, how many, and this is a student, 300-400 kids in the class, big auditorium. How many classes, and this is graduate school of business, reputable schools, how many classes have you had in selling a business? Nobody raises their hand. How many classes have you had in buying a business? Nobody raised their hand. So then I said, well, how many classes have you had in leadership? Nobody raised their hand. And you call yourself a graduate school of business. If you can't buy, sell, and lead, what the fuck are you doing? 3 years ago, Wharton, University of Pennsylvania, came out with its first class on selling a business. And the textbook I used at my advanced seminar, and please don't sign up. I don't need you. I don't want you. One Scouts is enough. I got to deal with for the next year. And it's written by a CPA who never sold a business in his life. Yet it's endorsed by 7 or 8 gurus, because that's what you do, you endorse each other's books. Nobody ever asked me to endorse their book. Wonder why? I never asked anybody to endorse my book. Wonder why? Okay, so now, wealth, risk, reward, not. What do? Look at how little cute kids. And then look at you. Freud said this about 100 years ago, Sigmund Freud. That's Sigmund, you probably don't even know who Freud is. Sigmund Freud said this about 100 years ago. What a sad example of the average human being compared to the adolescence of a child. He was spot on. He was spot on. If love got the job done, most parents would have produced high performers. It doesn't. How many times have you heard love cures everything? That's a load of shit. Hey, muscle pretender. You didn't get those muscles because of love, did you? Hard work. Unless you got padding in your arms. Hard work got that, right? Hard work is the motherfucking answer for everything. Not love. If love worked, there'd be no wars. If love worked, we wouldn't be about to bomb Iran back into the Stone Age. From my buddy Donald Trump. By the way, I'll say it now. I was one of the first endorsers of President Trump. I've known him a long, long time. I haven't dealt with him in 20, 25 years. But the U.S. needed a shaking up. And he was 1,000 times better than the alternative. Just like Brexit, they wanted to shake it up. But Donald will do the things he says. And for those of you that have relatives living in Iran or Syria, I'd ask them to move quickly. Because they're going to be back into the Stone Age. Nothing left of them. Okay, now, love doesn't work. So if love doesn't work, what works? Hard work. Elon Musk said a couple weeks ago, I would rather give me a guy, an average guy that works 100 hours a week, against a bright genius that only works 40 hours a week, and will get the job done in 4 months that it takes him maybe a year to accomplish. Bezos, who runs one of the most successful companies in the world, Amazon, to be considered for promotion, it's the 3rd or 4th largest market capitalized company, doesn't pay a dividend, doesn't make any fucking money. To be considered for a promotion, you have to work 80 hours a week. Considered for a promotion. To get promoted, you have to have 85 hours a week. And the truth is, you have to work 100 hours a week to be promoted at Amazon. When was the last time you met anybody that works 100 hours a week? Probably, maybe never, unfortunately. So love doesn't get the job done. If your adult child needs a safe space to avoid offensive words, you failed as a fucking parent. When this first started happening in the last few years, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was fake news. I really did. My kids got out of school. Our daughter's 30. Our sons are 33 and 35. Just on the cusp when this, there's no first, second, third place now. You just get a ribbon. You competed. Just as that was happening, my kids were leaving school. But I wouldn't allow my kids to compete in that shit. Because that's not life. You're either first, second, or third. And in my family, as you can probably already figure out, second and third were not acceptable. My daughter was born in this country, and she carries a British passport. And when she becomes prime minister, it won't make me happy. It's not enough for me. She'd have to be prime minister of the planet. And then maybe I'll be happy. Probably not, but Daddy, no matter what I do, no matter how good I am, no matter how much more successful I am than the boys, two of the brothers, it's never enough. That's right. It's never enough. Your parents would get on the roof of this building and jack off if you got to be prime minister. Literally. Remember, wealth, risk, reward not. The reason we are here, and the reason why the world's screwed up is because the psychology of the high performer has been considered not socially acceptable. Being a high performer, unless I've trained Olympians, I worked with the Lakers when they were getting all those world championships back in the 90s. And the mindset with those kids, world-class skiers, various other world record holders, they just understand. I got to swim 80 hours a week, then I got to do aerobic shit, out of the pool 20 hours a week, and all I have to do is sleep and eat and train. How come you don't understand that? Now, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Now, let's just say we're all contemporaries here, God forbid. Let's just say we're all mates. If you go to the sports bars or the pubs and belch and fart with your mates, in 20 years you're going to be going to the sports bars and belching and farting with your mates. Because your mates are fucking bums. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Why? Because that's exactly what you saw your dad do. If you had a dad. Now, my dad was always gone. Now, if you Google Manny Peña, please, I'm not telling you to do that, but if you Google Manny Peña, which is my father, he was linked to between which Google word you use, which page, 13 to 23 murders. He was a hitman for the CIA. He is allegedly linked to the assassination of Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, Jack Kennedy, the president, and Che Guevara. Now, I know he was in Colombia when they whacked Che for positive. That's the only one I can think. And when we used to ask him, and my wife, till the day he died, almost used to ask him, he'd give him, he loved chocolate cake. And he could tell when the chocolate cake didn't have real sugar in it. You know, like it. And so, well, give me chocolate cake out of that. And, you know, who'd you whack? He just giggled, laughed, wouldn't tell us anything. But my dad invented tough love in the 50s. And every beating I got, I should have got 1,000 more beatings. I got away with murder, literally. I got away with all kind of shit. But if my father were here, and you'd be complaining what I had a harsh life, and Mr. Peña Sr., my dad, you'd be in prison for what you did to your son, which you would have now. He'd say, well, how's your program with your kids working out? How are your kids turn out? Seems to me that Danny here, by normal standards even, turned out pretty good. Pretty fucking good. What about your fucking morons? How do you answer that? You don't. You don't. But it's not socially acceptable when you go to a cocktail party or drinks party. They call drinks parties up there. When you go out for drinks, what do you call it? Just out for drinks. Okay, when you go out for drinks, you don't talk about all my kids in the prison and my kids driving a fucking trash truck or a bin truck or something. Anyway, you don't talk about that shit, do you? Why don't you? The posh people down in Oxfordshire, they do. Now, I'm not relating or validating that at all. But the rich folks do have something, they got a model that they use. Send the kids to the best school you can possibly get them in, keep them in the best fucking school, and keep them around those fucking miserable little twits as long as you can. So the values of the rich, spoiled little cocksuckers rubs off on your little cocksuckers. You don't send them to the poorest school. We had a kid from the hood where I came from recently, Cambodian kid, who went to the same grammar school I did, the same church, same nuns beat him, but they don't beat him anymore. But anyway, and there was a rumor in the area of Los Angeles, of a white Mexican, a güero, light-skinned Mexican, blue-eyed, who made it out of the crab pot to make big money. But they don't know who his name is. But they hear, as they say in Scotland, of a white man on a white charging horse. And they talk about it 50 years later. But there hasn't been anyone since me. And there was certainly nobody before me. We sponsor a scholarship the last 8 or 10 years in my father's name. Student athlete at Lincoln High School. You have to have over 3.5 average out of 4, 3.5 out of 4. You have to a letter in 2 sports, and I forget what else. We couldn't find any athletes that went to that school that had those kind of grades. I didn't know girls volleyball was a sport until 7 or 8 years ago. All the good scholarships we give are to girls. I didn't know being a cheerleader was a motherfucking sport. What the fuck's happened? Nice girls. I don't mean it that way. Good kids. But I was looking for a 300-pound fucking tackle, American football, 6'6". First of all, Mexicans don't come that big. They may be 300 pounds, but they're 5'6", like fucking Brian Chule Rose. So now I'm giving scholarships, and I'm glad to give them because I know you kids watch this shit. But to pom-pom, volleyball, so maybe it's a good thing my dad's dead. That he didn't see that. So, you have your own thoughts why the world's fucked up. Okay? I'm here to tell you it's almost 100% on your parents. See, most of your parents don't understand what that even means. And if they do, their definition of high performance is so fucking low. "85% of the financial success is due to your personality and ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. Shockingly, only 15% is due to technical knowledge." Why do you go to school but other than for technical knowledge? So I'm not here to tell you you just got to go to school. My children went to school, got multiple degrees from great schools. I think because I didn't. I think that's why they did. So I believe that that's the truth why they did it. But only 15%. It's not what happens to you in life. It's how you relate to, how you deal with what happens to you. A lot of kids get child abused by their parents, physically and sexually. Okay? 40% of the women that come to my seminar have been physically abused, raped. You'd be surprised by who, too? By whom? Believe me, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but I was fucking gobsmacked. Normally think of brother, father. That's bad enough. Now, it gets much worse than that. And adopted kids never get over being adopted. Never. Nobody loved you, that's why they gave you up. And I can go on and on and on. But if we're afraid to talk about this, because it's not politically correct, how are we ever going to solve it? Ergo, we're not. And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And the reason why I'm on this crusade, if you will, to talk for free wherever, not wherever, almost wherever they'll listen to me. I got canceled by a Harlem charter school the night in Harlem, New York, the night before I was supposed to speak. If I hadn't read my emails where they canceled me at 10 o'clock at night, which is on the internet, I would have showed up, but they said it had nothing to do with me saying bad words. It had nothing to do with me being a proponent for then candidate Trump. It had nothing to do, but I think it had all to do with all those things, and so I was canceled. And so now we have this procedure we go through, so because we want them to do their homework before, so I don't waste, flying there and getting set up. And I practice for these talks, and because this is a new talk, wealth, risk, reward, not, it's a different topic, and it's a different subject matter. Okay, so now if we go to school, and by the way, I've had my own incubator fund. I've had what you guys are doing here, generally speaking, I've had before, both in Texas and in Asia. And we've tried not almost every model, we've tried various models, how we can get kids pointed in the right direction. Most models fail because at the end of the day, it's up to you. Are you going to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week? Are you going to make the sacrifices? Are you not going to go to the pub? Are you going to eliminate the losers in your life? And then we have to go through a whole definition process of what we consider a loser. We've tried all these things, not all, but many of them. And the reason why people like Brian Rose was able to accept, not like Jesus or anything like that, accept his fate, is because he was on the left-hand column all his life, just as all of you. And that's why one of the questions I asked when I walked in here, I said, for those of you that are part of this deal, who does the mentoring? You know. But I've had kids come to me, 19 years old, had read 700 books, on personal development. 700. I didn't know there was 700 books on personal development, and I have not read 700 books in my entire fucking life. And when I say don't read, I mean I've read the classics. I've read the Bible. I've read Shakespeare. I read Thoreau. I know that. But that's not what I'm telling you. See, you read books because you connote it with taking action. You think reading a fucking book is taking action. All reading a book for you, assholes, is procrastinating, pushing off some ultimate decision. But once you connect the dots, as Brian Chule Rose did, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier. And how do you connect the dots, in my judgment? The best and the only way is through mentorship. Find somebody that's where you are now and follow him or her. All the rest is bullshit. Mastermind groups suck. That's all bullshit. Those are all masturbation. Find a mentor, and you'll be so surprised how easy it is to get them. But remember, they have to be where you are, where you want to be. Where you want to be. And they've already connected the dots. Because success does leave clues. Success does leave clues. Now, this is not 17 now. He's an old kid now. I think he's 19 or 20. No high school, no junior, no nothing. No nothing! Some little dipshit from Lithuania. Youngest multimillionaire on the web. 120 hour week. Some of you know math. 100 hour a week is a slow week for him. Another teenage phenomenon. No high school, no college, no nothing. Homeschool. If you think he looks young, he is young. He's 19 now. And why do kids that get, because this is our future, and this is why I do this. Why do kids have it easier making change? Because they don't have all the fucking baggage you've got. They don't have all the loser baggage dragging you down. And what they still think is Wall of China can be built. You ask at an engineering school, does Liverpool have an engineering school? If they got one, if you ask the engineer, they'll say the Wall of China can't be built today in 2017. These kids don't know that. They can't even spell fucking engineer. This is Josh. Now, his claim to fame is he was an Eagle Scout. I'm not taking away from that. He was an Eagle Scout. That's the only thing he ever accomplished in his life. He just did a $3 million deal a couple of weeks ago. Now, these kids look arrogant? They fucking are. This kid, I had since he was 13. This kid, since he was 14. Last year, they turned down $20 million for 5% of their business. They're now 21 and 22 respectively. I told them not to turn the 20 million down. I would have taken the 20 million. But they're smarter than me now. Just like kids. Even my kids, they're smarter than me now. Anybody in this room would have taken the 20 million and run like a motherfucking thief in the night. You wouldn't have to ask me. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, those are the only benchmarks I have. Legal, moral, and ethical. I'll take that 20 million. I take it in pennies. So I don't give a shit. Just give it to me. If I drop 20 million from a helicopter here in central Liverpool, it'd probably be pandemonium, kind of riot. People would die probably, wouldn't they? I wouldn't do that. Actually, I would. It sounds like some fun, as my wife would say to do. But I mean, if you catch the kid, and this talk isn't so much for you, but it's for your kids or your grandkids. Because it's for most of you, it's too late. Better you eat a revolver. That's the only choice you got. And make sure that you don't get shit, when people come to the seminar, you're going to kill yourself, drown yourself in the lock, or jump off the tower, north, so you don't fuck things up around the estate. Now, this kid, he did wealthy family, Oxford, actually. Came to the seminar the week after he graduated, went to Silicon Valley and made $400 million. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Now, he is intellectually special. Everybody else, no. He is. But when I was in Oxford, not one fucking person even asked who his name was, what his name was. Of all the hundreds of kids, why wouldn't they ask me? Not one single person asked me his name. Because, see, you're pretending to want to be successful. See, you want success without accountability. And if you knew his name, and then you could Google fuck him and verify everything, gosh, that puts more pressure on your little weenie. You're just pretending. That's why I read another book. I know at least 20 to 50% of you are going to go to somebody's seminar, hear a podcast, or buy a book in the next 30 days. Even though I tell you you're brain dead. And all my shit's free. I have the least following on social media of any of the names you know. And if I ever get hundreds of thousands, I'm doing something wrong. My market that is willing to pay the price to commit seppuku, as Elon would say, is 1,000%. 740,000 people on the planet of 7.4 billion are willing to do what I did. And the thing, I just sent out something on social media, I didn't get one response from none of the dipshits. And I named all these guys, and if we all did the same thing, and we all slept in our office the first 10 years, and we're all psychopaths, and I went to, why do you discount the reality of what it takes to be Elon, or Steve, or Bill, or Warren, or myself, or Rockefeller, or Ford? Why do you discount, why can't you accept that fucking reality? And just stop trying to be something you're never going to be. Why can't you? My wife will love it. She said, hope springs eternal. But they think that maybe they're going to wake up one day and they're going to say, well, I don't mind taking all that risk. I don't mind not seeing my wife or whoever. He's a cocky fucker too. He's got about 600-700 million now. And when you ask him who he is, he's not even English now. Because he knows that English are cunts. Now wait a minute about the cunts. The English, do Liverpool people consider themselves English? Oh, okay, well, pretend you're English for a minute. The English used to rule 2/3 of the planet with something called gunboat diplomacy. Right? They wanted something, just fucking took it. Right? And then the Portuguese, the Spanish, and the French, everybody else copied them. What the fuck happened to you? Political correctness. Actually. Political correctness. So now it's deemed not to be appropriate. You just take shit from people. Caveman days, you saw a guy, a Neanderthal with a better looking woman, you just went and hit him with a fucking club. Now, I was born about 140,000 years too late, because that's my personal persuasion. And it's only by the grace of Allah that I'm still alive.
What was his name?
Christian Daly. Arrogant little fuck. You hang out with monkeys and your life becomes a circus, and that's where you stand today. And here we have, just picture him, a Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey just closed down. You know the guy in the middle with a big tall hat that used to tell everybody to go around? This is him right here. And but if you knew him like I knew him from a year and a half ago, more or less, he's not even the same person. He was a Shazad. It's a little early for Scouts because he just got here. But it's a life-changing experience. And all this shit's free. I'm not trying to sell you anything, believe me. Fuck yous. Don't stop me in the street. I don't want that. I'm not fucking Brian Rose. Don't acknowledge me. None of that shit. If you see me at an airport, please do us both a favor. Just stay the fuck away from me. Stay the fuck away from me. Because I don't want by accident some of your shit rubbing off on me. The first method of estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has surrounded himself with. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if we judged you by the nitwits that you're around, we wouldn't rank you very, very highly, would we? Now, I'm going to give a little speech about physical fitness, nutrition, having a six-pack, and all that shit. You know what that is? It's this. It means fuck all. Because anybody can have a six-pack. It's in the kitchen for six-packs, and work, and in the kitchen is where you make six-packs. They're good. These fucking meatheads don't even know. You know when you have ripples in your stomach? That's a six-pack, kids. Anyway, you have a six-pack, unless you're trying to be an Olympian, as an excuse for not being a high-performance person in other areas. Same with nutrition. As I told Dave Asprey, bulletproof man, at his hack-a-fuck, whatever the fuck is No, what's his deal? Biohacking, yeah. I was running 100-mile marathons 40 years ago. Back in the early mid-70s, if you were a man, it's because you ran 100 miles and you pissed blood. Because your body breaks down at about 70, 80, 90 miles, it starts feeding on itself, so you piss blood. You urinate blood. And all the things that were being done at Dave Asprey's biohacking thing were not new shit. It's old shit. They had people walking around barefooted, trying to grip the energy of the earth with their toes. I guess that's what they're trying to do. I said, are you fucking kidding me? Why don't you lose 700 pounds first, and the rest will take care of it. I mean, this is a big guy trying to grip the energy with his fucking toes. Now, when you get somebody, one of my Hall of Famers, who's a Harvard double degree guy, he says, Dan says things that we would not even, no, Dan says things we're afraid to think of in our own brain. Now, there's nothing I've said here today that you guys have not at one time or another thought about. But why haven't you done anything about it? And to do something about it, you have to start by talking about it. Now, we've already ascertained you're probably in an accident. You should have dribbled down your mama's leg. You're in relationships for the wrong reason. You're married for the wrong reason. And you got, God forbid, you got kids for the wrong reason. And if Sally were up here and we don't do a two-man show, she would say, but there's still hope. Maybe if you're from Yorkshire, living in a fucking caravan, there's still hope, but not for me. Because I'm brutal and I'm a realist. The odds are against you making progress. But it's not too late for the kids you haven't had or the kids you shouldn't have. It's not too late for them. Now, I've never had sex with a condom. I wouldn't know a condom. And somebody threw a condom on the floor one time I was giving a talk. I wouldn't know a condom if it bit me. And then I come back from the break and there's this little shiny thing on the floor. And I'm looking at it like this. And everybody's laughing. And I said, And then from the back, it's a condom, Mr. P. And I go like this. Well, I won't be needing that. I never, it's a little late for me, those. But I've told my sons, their generation was raised with condoms, my generation without. Post-AIDS, pre-AIDS. I had friends of mine get married in the 80s when as soon as they discovered what AIDS was. They automatically went out and got married. And then they found out that if you have enough money, like Magic Johnson, you don't die. Because there's HIV positive, blah, 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 blah. But they went out and got married. They thought it was the end of their life. They should have Google fucked. They didn't have Google back in the Middle Ages, did they? No, they didn't. But if they had Google, they should have Google fucked. They'd have done a little more research. Okay, now based on, we now know that success is how it started. If your parents understood and had been accountable their lives, you may not be here today. But you use them as your benchmarks, and you use them as your models. Now, knowing that personal development, which is what most of you come out of those schools, and there's a lot of nice guys in it, and I know all of them. And Ted Nicholas told me 25 years ago, I decided to do this, wrongfully decided to do this. He said, Dan, personal development is $1 billion business. It's $1 going around to 1 billion people. I didn't believe him. I thought he was trying to keep me out of the business. But he was right. There's several things I would never do again. I'd never buy a yacht again. I'd never buy a big plane again. I would never buy Guthrie Castle again. I would never build a golf course again. And I would never get in this motherfucking business again. Because I totally underestimated how hard it is to drag you assholes across the goal line. I have very arthritic back, and Sally said it's because, like Forrest Gump in the movie, he's dragging you across the goal line. But I'm selfish, and your parents told you not to be selfish, didn't they? I'm telling you to be selfish. I'm telling you to love yourself, because you can't be anything to anybody else until you love yourself. My wife tells me she worships the ground I walk on, but her love is transitory compared to my love for myself. It's transitory, it doesn't even fucking exist. You know, I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. And either is Bezos, Gates, Jobs, you go down the line. They all have one characteristic: tremendous self-esteem. In Bill Gates' case, his parents have big-time self-esteem. Steve Jobs was adopted, but I'm told his adopted parents had big-time self-esteem. Mr. Zuckerberg, who I have a lot of admiration, I don't exactly understand that model too well. I thought it would fail. I was wrong, but I thought it would fail. Has tremendous self-esteem. The kids that I showed you, the teenage phenoms, had tremendous self-esteem. Self-esteem is the basis of all excellence. Self-esteem is the basis of all high performance. So how do you get it? How do we save the world? Now, some of you are tree huggers, but I call tree huggers. You want to save the world. You believe in global warming and all that shit. I don't believe in any of it. But anyway, let's say it's true. Go out and make a gajillion fucking dollars. Like Gates, and then go save the fucking world. Not carrying placards around the fucking embassy. Go out and make some goddamn money. And then save the world. You're not going to influence anybody until you've made an impact on something. Then somebody might listen to you. The only reason people listen to this crazy old bastard like me is because I made a lot of money. But more importantly, I've created over 50 billion with fucking morons just like you. Fucking degenerate meathead retards just like you. I am God. And as Brian Rose said, I am doing God's fucking work. And the reason why nobody talks about fucking numbers is because nobody's created numbers. I am the only cocksucker on the planet that's devoted the last 24 years to your miserable fucking lives. And I don't want your fucking thanks. Don't touch me, don't talk to me, don't email me. Because I'm selfish. Because when they put dirt on me 50 years from now, They're going to say this is the greatest motherfucker that ever walked the planet since Jesus and created wealth for mongoloid retards. That's what they're going to fucking say. And that's the only reason I do it. I'm selfish because I want to die the very fucking best. Instead of an also-ran like this audience. You heard the term deer in headlights, right? A lot of fucking does out there. I mean, and I'm sorry to say, I've been busy in the speeches the last couple of days. Some asshole crazy man did it again in London a couple of days ago. Killed people or ran over. Jesus Christ. Oh, Lord. I was with a policeman, a retired British policeman, that he said if anything doesn't bring back weapons to British cops that they haven't had in 200 years or 300 years, it'll be this. Because even though they got there in 2-3 minutes, whatever, just imagine if they were on the scene. I'm not so sure because I know a bunch of members of parliament, they ought to be giving them guns. I know some of them, and they're about 3 steps to the loony bin themselves. Refining capacity. So you take crude oil, you put it in a deal, it mixes it up like a mix master, and different products come out, but only 40%. I saw on the other side of the equation that there was a shortage of jet fuel, JP4 and 5, the fuel that keeps the jets in the air for NATO, Britain, whoever. So I went and bid on contracts. I went to a refinery. I went to a lot of refineries, and finally one of them accepted my offer. If I could show you a way that you could have 95% of your refinery being used for the next year, would you be interested? Well, he said yes. Then I dropped the other shoe. It's with the government. Then they said no, because they don't want to do business with the government, because the government in those days, paperwork, a meter high. I'll do all the paperwork. I'll take all the rest of it. It all gets fucked up. You can blame it on me. So then I ran over and did a bid with the United States Fuel Center, the government, and I was able to underbid almost everybody because nobody wanted to do business with the government, number one. And number two, we had a refinery that was only 40% being used. And he just wanted, because when a refinery's not used, it rusts. And it falls to shite. He wanted it to be used. So we came up with a price, as I recall, it was about $1.01 per gallon. And I won my first $20 million contract, and another $20 million contract, and a $10 million contract. Okay, so I used that $50 million in turnover to start Great Western, which we call Great Western Resources in the end. I brought it public on the London Stock Exchange, but you can't take a contract public. So I came over here and I met with investment bankers, all the Oxford guys I've been teasing about, and I saw that what it took to go public. And so for the first time on the planet, I took an option public. So let's just say you're all owners of oil production in America. Okay, I'll give you $10,000 now and $600,000 later, but I want an option to buy your oil reserves in production. And I went around to a bunch of people. I gathered up a bunch of production, and I took it public. I didn't own it, though. I only took an option. You know how many I have an option on a house? You have an option on a piece of property. Nobody had ever done that before, and so the Bank of England had to sit and pray over the matter. And because I had the very, very, very best representation, I had Freshfields. The lawyers, they used to say, we act for the Queen of England, the Bank of England, the Church of England, and Dan Penna. And that shit works here. And it still works here. I'm not saying it's right, but if you don't think it still works, you're fucking stupid. Okay? So I got all the very best to represent me, and they went and they put together a plan, and with a genius kid named Jeremy Knight, and they sold it to the Bank of England, and so I was able to turn $60,000 into 100 million pounds in about 1 second, microsecond. And that's how I formed the company. And I said, well, fuck, where else can I do this? Now, see, the British, they're all popping champagne bottles. Then I went across the water to Amsterdam, did the same fucking thing to them. But by then, everybody in the world got a hold of the idea, and so then they started putting up the Peña rule, where you had to own what you took public. But that's how I started. But I've come up with a lot of things. In the last few weeks, I came up with another angle on something. Because everything that I failed at 22 things last year. 22. You haven't swung you haven't been to the plate. You haven't been on the crease of the pitch 22 times. Probably in your whole fucking life. I fell 22 times last year, swinging away. And this year, I've probably been only on the crease using crooked maybe 5-6 times, but I've hit it for 3 times already. For Americans, that's a Grand Slam home run already. And I'm always swinging. I'm always swinging at the plate. I never stop swinging. And that's why I never stop seeing kids when I'm around the world. I sit and listen to you. I won't be in business with you, but I'll listen to you because I want to know what the thought process is. That's why I know Trump was going to win. Because every single person almost that I met with in America before the election, we're going to vote for Trump or we're afraid, we're embarrassed. Almost every single person I talked to. So I knew he was going to win. Okay.
Dan, so I remember watching one of your QLA seminars, and I remember you also mentioned that don't watch the news, don't care about what goes on in the world, and that's just a way of sort of maintaining focus. So could you speak a little more to that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is harsh because it is. You need your family like you need AIDS. Next, you need your mates like you need AIDS. Next, unless by the grace of Allah somehow your brother or somebody you know is a high performance person, defined by, when we have a definition on my website, what a high performance person is. Next, you can't, you don't go to weddings, you don't go to a funeral, you don't go to anything. You just 100 hours a week, you can't do that, then this isn't for you. It isn't for you. Don't read newspapers, don't listen to CNN, delete, if that's the right word, you from Facebook. All social media, I looked at, no, not you, but some of the groups I looked at you in Facebook, I'm embarrassed. If I was your parent, I'd be embarrassed the shit that you put on Facebook. But because your life's an embarrassment. Your fucking life's an embarrassment. The fucking moronic things you list on Facebook. Why would you do that? Because you have no self-respect. You got a 1 centimeter weenie and you haven't stuck it in anything in fucking your whole life. That's the only way anyway. All social media goes. Join Toastmasters. Go to improvisation, learn how to act. Public speaking. For those of you, change, you have to, when they call about paradigm shifts, that's a joke. Paradigm shift means 100% of what you're doing today, if it works so fucking well, you wouldn't be here today. So your program's not working. Why not try for 6 months somebody's program that does work? That's created $50 billion with a fucking retard. And I'm not saying anything about people that are disabled. I don't mean it that way. And when I say cunt, it's because you're a coward. It's got nothing to do with a girl with parts. So, you've got to disassociate yourself. Because there's so much money out there now, it's ungodly. They're giving away money for. What are your kids and grandkids what are you going to tell them when they ask you, gee, daddy, gee, mommy, what the fuck did, they won't say it this way, what the fuck did you do when the money was being given away for 15 fucking years? What, you have your thumb up your arse? What's already been given away free the last 7-8 years. And it's probably going to last another, if we don't go to war with Russia, if global warming it doesn't happen in the next 10 years, which I know it's not, and if they don't raise interest rates precipitously really high, you're going to be able to do this for another 5 or 10 years or longer. We have a banker came to one of my kids and said, we're 116 million pounds underinvested in, I think, Birmingham. One bank. They got to get it out the door before whenever their quarter ends. I don't know when the quarter ends. Question. Yes, sir.
My friend keeps saying that we live in the bowels of the earth here in Liverpool, and it's the toughest place on the planet to make money.
I don't agree with that. Every place is tough. If you don't try, you don't swing at the plate.
The question is, how do we forgive ourselves for not making a go of it?
You're never gonna. You're always gonna. You never. It's like you're not gonna ever be able to erase your data bank from that shit from you. You're gonna know. but your saving grace is you can still do it. The fact that you pissed away, the hardest thing for QLA when you read the website, you have to come to the realization that you've wasted your entire fucking life so far. That's the realization you got to come to. You wasted every fucking breath that you've taken. You might as well have rolled down the inside of your mama's leg. Once you get over that, the rest is easy. It's okay that you pissed your life away. It's okay that you slept with that piece of shit. It's okay that you had kids when you didn't want. That's all okay. I can't do anything for what you did already. What I can do is this is the first day of the rest of your life. That I can do. And I'm very good at it. Arguably, I'm the best on the planet when measuring by equity and value. Now, do I make you feel good about yourself? No, because I don't give a fuck. And either does Elon. He doesn't give a fuck. He just wants you to buy those. Oh, the car. What's the name of his car?
Tesla.
Okay. Now I want you, we try to think about this real clearly. The first electric car was about 1845. The first fucking electric car was 1845. That's 150, 60 or 60 years ago, okay? Do you think if the planet really wanted electric cars, they could have done some shit about it? Until Elon stepped up and put his foot up the arse of the automobile industry. The first car was electric! Wake up! Jesus Christ! And if you think that petroleum cars are going to go away anytime soon, you're retarded! It's going to go away when the king of Saudi Arabia decides it's going to go away. That's when the fuck it's going to go away. What do you guys smoke? And by the way, I have weed mentees. I probably know more about the weed industry than anybody in this room. Don't do weed, but I know a lot about it. I know a lot about it. And I know a lot of high-performance people use it. I'm not suggesting you do that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about your experience and success in selling?
Selling. Well, I'm just a salesman, and a lot of people, well-educated people, don't like to hear me say this. And it's probably why a lot of big-time universities don't let me speak. It's because I'm just a peddler, an insurance peddler, pots and pans peddler that took his sales skills to the highest level. And I'm proud of being a salesman. And Warren Buffett and I have one thing in common. He and I both took the same sales basic training class together. Not together, but the same school, Dale Carnegie's selling class 101. He took it in the 60s and I took it in the early 70s. Because he couldn't give away a piece of ass to a lumberman. I mean, he couldn't sell worth the shit. I thought I could sell because I was very, very good with ladies. And I thought I got more ass than a toilet seat at a fucking bus station. I mean, they would have to replace the toilet seats as much sex that I got. But I thought that was selling. But I was attracted to the opposite sex. Would make my sale easier. I thought I could sell anything. I learned quickly that I couldn't sell anything until I took some professional sales classes. Now my kids, my current mentees say that the Wolf of Wall Street guy, his sales program is pretty good. I've never taken it, but they say it's pretty good. But I've had kids just recently take the Dale Carnegie. It's a 3-day course now. When I took it, it was about $180. Now it's like $600 or $800. It's not cheap. But I don't know what it is in the UK, in pounds. But it's a 3-day course. But it's very, very good. But learning how to sell, learning how to communicate, that's why I want you to take Toastmasters. I've got a kid, a mentee, an Australian kid, who was president of Toastmasters 2016. He couldn't talk before he stuttered. He bloody stuttered. I mean, communication and your ability to convey your idea, because leadership is me getting you to do what I want you to do when I want you to do it, not when you wake up and decide to do it. And in that regard, my military background, 50 years ago, June 1st, I was commissioned a young lieutenant. And in their infinite wisdom, the United States Congress deemed Dan S. Peña a officer and a gentleman by the act of the Congress. That's the only high performance thing I'd ever done. Getting thrown in jail, beating up people and shit like that isn't high performance, although I was pretty good at that. But I mean, so, and I took it seriously. And so I used that lever and leadership skills for the most kids that come to me are piss poor. But because leadership, nobody teaches you leadership. Unless you go to one of the military academies, you go to Sandhurst here in the UK. Well, who teaches leadership? Nobody. But it shows you how feeble you are because you buy off on these kids that don't know fuck all about leadership. Because you're so desperate. You want to think that there's an easy way. I tell you, it's almost impossible. And you're going to fail. But if you've got the tenacity, if you got the focus, you've got the commitment, and you really want it more than life itself, you can do it. And I'm a living example of that. Yes, sir.
Is it better when you're bored and going after money to go regional or to go straight to London and get the money?
It depends on the deal. Practice regional, then go to London. The city, as it's called. I guess it's still called that. But I thought the city, with all its pompous bullshit, was just like taking candy from a baby. I mean, fuck. They sit around and talk like Shazad, you know, when you're going, actually, we've taken the decision to, but that's how they talk. Today, it's unfucking believable. And there's hardly anybody in the city that still remembers me. But the few that still remember me are afraid of me. I remember a guy with a pompous name, an Etonian. He was 11th generation Etonian. Now in America, that doesn't mean shit. For those Britons here, you know what 11th generation Etonian means. And he said, actually, we've taken the decision that if you're intelligent about it, you shouldn't be afraid of Mr. Peña. He's not the one I choked, though. Or I allegedly choked. Allegedly. I should have choked him in hindsight, but was another question?
Yes, sir.
But wait. Yes, sir.
Was it going to the military, or was it the gentleman who worked for Onassis that defined?
No. I was defined as a leader, a high performance person, being commissioned, a barrio bad boy. But when I got out of the military, I went back to school. I went to school and I graduated with a 4-year degree in 2.5 years. I graduated with honors. All I had was F's before. Graduated with honors. Then I went to Wall Street, and I had the presence of mind. The first time Mr. Onassis was dead by that time. I had the presence of mind when Costa Grazia, Company Grazia, was the CEO of the Onassis group. I saw him in a room, and I hunted him down the next few days. And this is before big buildings had security and all that stuff. I just go door to door until I found his office. That, dealing with the Vatican, and all the stories you hear about the Vatican are all true. They're crooked as shit. Vatican Bank, anyway. But I had the self-esteem. To go in and hunt down the CEO of Onassis Group. I had the self-esteem to, arguably to take an option public when everybody told me you couldn't. I had the self-esteem to go to Freshfields, which they should have taken me on as a client like they need AIDS. They shouldn't have. Or they say in Scotland they shouldn't have. But I had that self-esteem. And self-esteem builds more self-esteem. When I'm not successful at something, I can't hardly fucking believe it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm gobsmacked. I don't believe it. I don't believe the email. That's bullshit. And get them on. What are you, crazy? And because I'm successful so much, although I failed at 22 different new deals that I'll wake up in the middle and I'll write that down. That sounds like something I should try. And it didn't work. A lot of the shit doesn't work. But if you don't swing at the plate, guys and gals, you can't possibly. You got another question?
Sorry, no one stays on top forever, but you seem to be the exception.
No. I've been from the penthouse to the shit house 2-3 times, and one time it cost me about $400 million. Every time it always costs me for some reason in the hundreds of millions, but I've made more than I've ever lost. But now I'm not interested in that. I'm living vicariously, if you will, through your successes. And some of your successes are pretty fucking overwhelming. I mean, we had a kid do a $1 billion blind pool energy deal here a couple months ago against all odds. I mean, right now, I mean, there are industries that, it's all on my website, it's all on my YouTube, etc., that are just itching for people to get involved and make a lot of money. And what's better now is you can do 85% of all the work via the internet. Before you had to use shoe leather. I still believe in the final analysis, you got it face to face. But there are kids that get these deals done just on the internet. On the internet, because you lack, as a generation and a half, you lack the social skills, you lack communication skills, you lack, the balls, whatever you want to call it, to go face to face. For those of you in the audience that think that you have face-to-face skills, I mean, this will be like shooting fish in a barrel. It'll be like taking candy from a baby, which is, I got in a big trouble with a mama's club, who fucking got on my ass about taking candy from a baby. That's a saying, I'm not subscribing to you go slap a little kid about taking his fucking candy. But I mean, I get crazy shit, people with death threats. What are you talking about? I don't mean it that way. I mean, it's easy. It's easy. And, but we have all the templates, all the tools. I mean, on my website, how do you get the fucking money? It's the least used link on my site. The next one is deal flow. How do you create deal flow? Do you have to be an alpha male? The answer is no, but I got a whole podcast about it. 98% of all the high performance people in the world are not alpha males. They're on Henry Kissinger, Richard Branson, although he's pretty tough. But I mean, they're at the other end of the continuum. There's only a few of us at the alpha male end of the continuum. Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft, Donald Trump, myself, of course, the famous General Patton from the American military. Those are the guys that, they talk about. But, I mean, any of you can do it if you want to. And one other thing. I hear all the time, my spouse or my partner is supportive. That's bullshit. They're only supportive as long as it's convenient for them. Then they become unfucking supportive. There was a question. Yes, sir.
In a previous interview, you said something about Donald Trump he's going to mess up the economy and then build it up again.
No, I don't know. He's going to mess up your vision of the economy. Because, I mean, he didn't get elected because, other than everybody's unhappy in America. Not dissimilar to what happened with Brexit, although you can argue that Brexit was kind of an accident. But anyway, I listed 20 things that Donald Trump was going to do his first 1,000 days as president. He did 17 of them. He's a smart guy. When they say he's got the richest cabinet in history, he's also got the smartest cabinet in history by 20 points, IQ points. I mean, he's a smart guy. You may not like the way he talks, but he doesn't talk dissimilar to me. When he's not on the camera, he sounds like, you heard me today? That's what he sounds like. That's what he sounds like. Yes, sir.
So you shared some wisdom before about the things that distract us, like social media, and keep us from being laser focused. What are some of the things you would replace on a daily, weekly basis? Little actions that you can start taking as in next week.
Have a routine. Have a weekly routine. Use, let's say you start with Sunday. Use half a Sunday for the planning for the rest of the week. Have at least 5 scheduled times that you're going to exercise. Because exercise is important. Not to get a six-pack, but just to, keep the adrenaline flowing in your body. Do the hardest things first in the day. The things that you don't want to do first. And we've all got a list like that. Do those first. Make a list that's longer than the day. Let's say that on average you can get to 8 to 12 things done a day. Have 15 to 20 things on the list. If you get through the 15 or 20, you're fucked up. Your time management is not right. I never get through my list for a day. I've always got to overlap to the next day. And sometimes to the next week. But I put the hardest, toughest, highest priority items first. Because I don't want to wiggle away from those. And I'll make 5 phone calls. And the 6th phone call should have been the first phone call. But nobody gives bad news better than I do. And there's never an easy time to make a hard decision. It's not going to be easy when you tell your partner you're going to kick him to the curb. There's no fucking easy time. There just isn't. So what happens if you don't do it? 1 year, 5 years, 15 years, 18 years later, the same old hag or the same old type of shit. But I mean, the one book, Joe Batten, who's a former partner of mine, he was a mentor of Ross Perot. He wrote 2 books, both terrific. Tough-Minded Management and Tough-Minded Leadership. You never have to read another book on leadership, or you never have to read another book on management. Tough-Minded Management, Tough-Minded Leadership by Joe Batten. Terrific books. And he was a terrific guy, and I had the pleasure of being in business with him for a while. Really a good guy. Not a nice guy, a good guy. A good guy. Yes, sir.
How do I manage death threats?
Death threats?
Yeah. How do I, or like how do we?
Oh, well, I mean, I go to their house myself personally. I go to their house, and, well, most death threats aren't real. And as soon as I say that, some guy will go shoot him in the head. But well, you're supposed to, I don't do this. You're supposed to tell the police and that kind of stuff. But I've always dealt with it myself. I haven't done that. But I'd call the police. And I know there's bullying now, which is I think bullying's not funny. But I think it's funny. Because you bully online now. Why? I can't even find the words that come out of my mouth. And I can say how anybody could be afraid of anything anybody says online. I mean, I don't know, but I know a whole generation and a half, and there's kids that commit suicide over it. There's a court thing in America right now. A girl told a guy to go kill himself. He went and killed himself. Now she's going to jail for 20 fucking years. A girl told a guy, go kill yourself. So he goes, don't you see how fucked up that is? I mean, if I went and committed suicide every time and said, go kill yourself, well, I mean, I've been dead 1,000 times, 30 years ago. But now, because we're so sensitive, our skin is so tender, we can't take, what we really can't take, we can't take the truth. Now, most bullying is not the truth. But hey, fat ass, Polly does have a fat ass. That's not right. I'm not promoting or condoning or any of that. But go get a 6-pack if you don't like it. Oh, that's too much work. I just have a fat ass. That's the truth of the matter. Yes, sir. In the back.
I just want to know what was going through your head when you decided to change, like the shit situation you're in when you starting off. You didn't have the best start.
That's an understatement. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can always say, I wish it was better, I wish it was better. You tried. What was that moment in your head when you kind of...
Oh, I'm in the Army. I'm second lieutenant, first lieutenant. I wasn't the top of my class. I graduated in the middle class. But, I'm in charge of $100 million in the military. No place to get overtrained with less education than the military. And I come up with an idea, and computers were brand new in the 60s. I came up with an idea to save $11 million for NATO. $11 million. Paper shuffling, basically. And I got a $50 war bond as a prize. $50 war bond, U.S. government war bond, you could buy for $6.75. So if I kept that $6.75 war bond for 30 fucking years, it's worth $50. And a 3-star general, he was just about to make his 3rd-star general, Woodrow Bonds, we're at the officers club, and now they don't even have officers club. Now they mix enlisted men with officers. Right, Sarge? Yeah. Okay. And he says, Danny, it's all over post. I was in a lot of trouble. I used to do a lot of shit, But anyway, what's all over post, General? He says, you got an award. I'm going to be giving you an award in 4 or 5 weeks. For what? The war bond. And that embarrassed me. $6, but it's a big, getting any kind of chicken shit. And then he said, another General Roy Atterbury, he said to me, I saw on the other side, he says, Danny, you could probably make a lot of money out in the civilian world. And a light bulb went off. Because I was in there to be a career Army officer. A light bulb like this went over my fucking head. Make a lot of money in the civilian world. Boom! And the rest is history. I got on, and then I had to go and kiss the ass of a bunch of senior officers. I just gone regular Army, now I got to get out of that. And so it took me about 5 months, and then I got discharged, and I went back to school. And then they wouldn't accept me in any university that was worth a shit. I couldn't get in. They looked straight F's, D's. Oh, you got a C there. What the fuck happened? You know. And so I had to get on a special permission by the registrar of the school I went to finally on probation to get in, and got back to school and went back to school, and I took the normal load in American universities is 12 units. I took 26 units a semester. Worked, taught, did all kind of shit. Drank, got fucked up, chased girls. Had plenty of time for all that. That's why we have guys that have 50 to 60 hour a week regular jobs, and they do QLA 50, 60 hours a week. That kid, young kid, Josh, that was sitting there on the with a three-piece suit on. He had a regular job, programmer. He taught himself how to program over the weekend to get a job in Silicon Valley. And he worked QLA 50, 60 hours a week. But guys, if you can't, I've got guys in the seminar from Sweden and places like that, they work 24, 28 hours a week. I know lawyers, early in their practice life, you can pray 5 times a day and still work 70 hours a week. Which, I mean, and now in this country, with the EU, what is it, 36? How many hours?
45.
45? That's the max you can work. What's the minimum?
36.
36? Oh, fuck. I mean, that dog doesn't hunt. It just doesn't hunt. I still work 50, 60 hours a week. When I said that at Oxford, I thought the little kids were going to just fall off their chairs. Now, this is one. I have not had to work in 35 years. I have not had to work 35 years. People ask me, how do you get up in the morning? I've had everything that all the goodies or whatever, for about 30 years. I've gone through the planes and the boats and that kind of thing. But I mean, I'm obsessed about this thing now, pulling you assholes over the goal line, because you're going to make me, it's going to be Jesus and Peña. And Jesus didn't do shit, really. I can walk on the water now. I haven't tried the bread and the wine bit, but I'll work on that. Oh, speaking of that, I'm at Dave Asprey's deal. I didn't know what a chakra was. If it bit me in the dick, I didn't know what that meant. I've never meditated 100 millionth of a second my whole life. So I go in to see Joe DeCina, who he just interviewed me a couple of weeks ago. And I got there early, and they had some shaman guru, and Jesus was up there, yeah, and he was doing all kinds of shit. I got there early. So I'm standing in the back, Sally's here, one of my mentees is next to me, and I'm dressed just like this, and everybody else looks even worse than you. They were dressed. And he said, we're going to do one final deal. We're going to do, I couldn't exactly hear him, but something about third chakra. And so I turn around, I'm going to walk out, and Sally said, well, let's try it. And I said, fuck it, the guy's a fake. Anyway, so everybody stands up, assumes the position. I didn't know what that meant. Assume the position, to me, is the girl's bent over like this to sing. But that's not what they meant. Because anyway, Sally's not into sex in front of people anyway, so what the fuck am I going to do? Oh, okay, so they all stand with their legs about like this, and to me it looked like they're hugging a tree. So I assumed this position, and he was out of my mind, doing incantations, and he says some mumbo jumbo, and then he asked us to do some mumbo jumbo, and I apparently I heard him good enough to repeat it, and then I said, Sally, I can see the asshole with my eyes closed. And then Chris, who's on this side of me, says, no way. I go, yeah, he's dancing around back and forth, left to right. How can I see him with my eyes closed? And then the people that are right go fucking bonkers. And I had apparently opened up, and the people all wanted to touch me. Get away from me. Unless you're a girl with big tits and you're on your back, don't fucking touch me. I've been saying that for 40, 50 years. Okay, so we did it, and that's it. I didn't think anything of it. And we left, and so I went to visit some friends of ours who attended my first seminar in May 1993, 24 years ago, and she had died. She'd been pronounced dead in 18, 20 minutes, and she had come back to life. So I wanted to go see Mary. So we're in their big mansion house, and we're sitting in the kitchen. She's about where Blondie is, sitting right there, and she's in the back of the kitchen. I'm here with a glass of red wine. And I said, well, what's this thing about you being dead? She says, yeah, I was dead 18, 20 minutes. And they brought me back. I said, well, fuck. And I said, well, how did it happen? She says, well, I fell dead at my rehearsal dinner of her son dinner. She fell right into the dessert, dead. So they had 2, 3 doctors there. They tried to bring her back to life, and they broke 4 or 5 of her ribs, trying to, pound her heart into movement again. And the paramedics come, and they take her puff, she's dead. They put her in the ambulance, and they're driving her away, and there was a senior paramedic and a junior paramedic. The junior paramedic is, I'm practicing, can I have a go? Now, what I thought they meant, little necrophiliac. I thought that's what they were going to do. But she's a good-looking fucking woman. Still a good-looking woman. But that's not what they meant. They said they're going to jolt her a couple more times. The third jolt, she sat up and fucking was alive. So now she's dead 25 fucking minutes. So she says, I know what you want to ask me, Dan. That's the only reason you're over here. What did I see? That's right. I didn't see any bright lights. Well, I said, you're not going to heaven. You're going to fucking hell. I know you a long time. There's no question about that. But what did you see? And she said, I saw every regret since I'm born till I fell dead in my son's rehearsal dinner flashed before me in 100 millionth of a second. Every fucking regret she ever had. We're all energy, kids. Every fucking regret she ever fucking had, she saw in a millionth of a second flash before her. And that's what I've been telling people for 50 fucking years. And the only reason way I'm going to find out is if I got to die myself first and be brought back. So if you think that when you die, it's all over, it ain't. And Steve Jobs knew that. So every miserable cunt-like thing you did in your miserable fucking life is going to haunt you the rest of eternity. And then she said, do the chakra shit for me. Well, I said, I shared, now you got to share. And I said, I never did. I said, I don't know how to do it again. And then Sally, a couple of glasses, okay, so I go, and it happened again. And she says, no way. I said, yes, but I haven't done it since. Now I get emails almost daily inviting me to shit, to go whatever those people do. But there's no fucking, I don't care. I'm never going to do it again. But when you think you have no limits to your abilities, guess what? You have no fucking limits to your abilities. You've been raised to only have limits. I tell the story about the big 6'8", 300-pound guy that by the grace of God didn't break my neck at the Muhammad Ali was Cassius Clay fight. Anyway, make a long story short, we chased him in our 2 cars. We chased him for 2 or 3 hours. We caught him. His car was on a rock, and he couldn't get away from us. He gets out of the car. I go, fuck, you fucked up, Peña. You fucked up. Because I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm just not. But this guy, so what would you do? Well, like I just hit him as hard as I could, but he was trying to apologize to me. I hit him, and by the grace of Allah, he twisted his ankle and fell down this cliff and dislocated his fucking shoulder blade. So he crawls up the cliff with his shoulder down here. Now I'm going to I'm going to show this guy now. I'm going to beat him like a ridicule. And the big guy's still being nice. And the guys in the car with him, the big guy said, "Oh, leave him alone, kid. I mean, he's trying to apologize. He's lucky today. By the grace of Fast forward 3 months, I'm at the USC-Nebraska football game. I'm sitting in the bleachers drinking like you're not supposed to drink in the Coliseum. And a guy puts his hand on my shoulder like a big fucking meat hook, about 3 hands wide, on this shoulder. I'm telling the story just like I'm telling you. And he said, actually, I also broke my this. And I look up. Now he's standing in the bleachers, right? So now he's 12 feet tall. 12 feet tall. And, but his arm's like this, in a sling. So I figured, well, I can jump on that sling and rip his arm out again. So, you know, but he was a nice guy. But all things being equal, and life's not equal, he should have ripped my head off and killed me. And see, you'd still be apologizing to the guy. But what I learned is the best defense is a good offense. I learned that from the hood. So I don't care how big you were, who you were, the first thing that Peña did, Danny Peña did, is hit you right in the fucking mouth. And I've gotten away with my life like that for a long, long time. I should be dead by now. Got run over by a buffalo in Australia, charging buffalo, lived to talk about it. I mean, killed a bear with a fucking knife. I done some crazy shit. I should be dead. I'll die when I feel like it. And that's not anytime soon. There's another question. Yes, sir.
How do I act like a good mentee, and how many casting seminars do you have left?
Well, I mean, if I don't die tonight.
You, Dan. Sorry, just 1 second. I think that was our last question. We need to clear up the room.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you very much. Go on.
Okay. Oh, before I answer that question, this is the final slide. Somebody put it up for me. This is you. And this is what you have to go through to accomplish anything in life. Got to get through your relatives, your friends, the pessimists, your own fucking guilt, your own fear, society. And that's why very little gets accomplished. And to answer your question, we have next seminar is in August. After that, I don't know. I only plan one at a time. I'm not planning on retiring anytime soon. And I'm pretty healthy, so I'm not going to die anytime soon. But now, and I don't take on any individual clients other than once in a while, and I get paid 5,000 pounds an hour. So that kind of eliminates it. But I still get clients. People are willing to pay that. I don't know why, but they do. They can get, I tell you, when I hire me for 5,000, go on my website for free first. Study my website for a month or 2 months. But that's the next seminar, and we mentor all the kids for a year. We have a few examples in here of the mentor program in the. But I mean, it's just stand up in 30 seconds. Just tell them how easy it is. Our program.
30 seconds?
No, tell them because I don't want them to come. So tell them.
It is fucked up. I mean, I have no idea what you sign an name to if you actually do decide to go, and it's tough to describe. I mean, whatever I say, you wouldn't be able to relate unless you've been through some kind of real shit in your life. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's good. He's okay, yeah.
It's like a boot camp. It's like a boot camp for being successful. Like, if you haven't done anything successful in your fucking life, it just changes your reality. Like, I was a sergeant in the Army, in the Air Force, not doing shit, in the desert, watching this man on TV. And then I instantly was able to communicate, negotiate, get out of my contract as soon as I got back. And I was able to move from Alaska to Palo Alto. Now I own a private equity firm. I have a venture capital fund. It happens like that. That's what this program does. Program does. That's why I flew out here. That's why I paid money to come out here and see Dan. He's not gonna be around much longer. I realize that. But I flew out here for that reason. Whatever it takes to change your life. He's telling you the truth. He's doing God's work. He changed my life. He told me the truth about my father. I'm adopted. I'm a crackhead baby. And I have a business. I have a venture capital fund. I said, you know what? I'm gonna buck into it. I can be anything I fucking want. I ain't gonna be Martin Luther King. I ain't gonna be like Jay-Z. I'm gonna be like Carlin Johnson. And I'm gonna change my vision of the world. So he's doing outstanding things. And you really all should listen to his message. And if you get the opportunity, take that chance. I had a best friend in Hawaii tell me through text message, like, you gotta listen to this motherfucking damn Peña. So,
Another brother, though. He's another brother.
yeah, he's another brother. I mean, he said stuff at first. I'm like, this dude just called me what? So, he breaks it down. That's that mental barrier. It's mental barrier. That's why you're not achieving shit. That's why you're not going anywhere in life. You know, hey, follow, become the best human being you can be on this planet. I mean, we're here to change the planet. I mean, all these millennials here, we got the internet. What are we doing? We're sitting around doing nothing, not making change. All these startup communities, nobody's communicating with each other. We don't even know how to have a conversation with each other. Let's change the planet. Let's actually do something.
Okay, thank you. Okay, kids. One final note. It is hard, but I mean it's hard. Only 99.999% of all the kids that have been benefited from QLA, I've never met. This is only the 4th time I've been out of the castle since 2000, the year 2000. And if it wasn't for his grit and tenacity, little shit up here, I mean, I wouldn't be here because I don't normally speak to melonheads like you, you know. But I'm glad I did it, and it's another arrow in my quiver of being able to spread the word for QLA, and that's why I speak for nothing. I got nothing to sell. I didn't come to the seminar, but I mean, they're pretty much fully booked. But we change lives. But if you're not in the mood for a real change, a real diametric change your life, you know, don't bother. I mean, Elon Musk is a wacko. He's a great wacko, but he's a fucking wacko. You know, and if you don't have wacko in you, then you know, I wouldn't do it. But anyway, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.